Hello everybody, it's only been a couple weeks since my last video, but some things have actually happened. I do have some new things to be shown. I haven't headed off to the recycling center at all since my last video, or for a while in that matter, but I do have some new things to be shown. Firstly, I'm just going to talk about some stuff I acquired. So I mentioned in my last video, this is a Dell Dimension 4600 that I'm working on for somebody. I mentioned that they gave it to me and they wanted me to clean it up and stuff. Well, last week they also dropped off some more PCs. I dropped off this compact. It's a compact with a 2.8 GHz Pentium 4, had a gigabyte of DDR memory. It was weird because there were 3 256 meg chips and they were all 333 megahertz, and there was one 133 megahertz chip that was bottlenecking them all. That was weird. Had two 40 gig hard drives in it. They also gave me a really old, crummy computer over here. I don't even know what make it is, but had like an AMD Athlon, like 1.6 gigahertz or something, and a little bit of DDR2 66. And they also gave me a Dell Dimension 3100. I'm going to talk about in a moment in that computer. And they said, "I want you to clean these up." Well, it was kind of confusing to me because I thought, oh, he wants me to take every single one of these and clean them up and stuff, but after a little bit of email exchanging and all that, I figured out that he said that he wants one computer to have Windows 7 on it, one computer to be like a web surfing computer that has XP on it, and there's another laptop he gave me. I think I might have mentioned in my last video that he just wants me to generally clean up. So I had to keep working on the 4600, make that the web browsing computer. The Dell Dimension 3100 dropped off last week, which I will show in this video. I'm making the Windows 7 computer, and the other laptop is inside. So I decided to take that computer and scrap it because he told me to remove all the data off of it, off of all the computers. I mean, and he wasn't even keeping track of what computers he had. He just kind of threw a bunch at me and just said, "Here, do something with these." So I'm scrapping that one. That a 60 gig hard drive is actually wiping right now. It's old, it's kind of loud, but it's 7200 RPM, and I'm wiping it anyway. It's taking a while though. And then there was this thing. I'm not sure whether or not I should try to sell this. Had two 40 gig hard drives in it. I think one of them was broken though. Both of them are this model right here. Max stores 40 gig. They're the slim hard drives. I think the model number is like 6EL040 or whatever. But yeah, it's a Dynamax Plus from 2003. I wiped the other one of these, but I put the other one here and didn't want to recognize it, so I don't know what was going on with that. But anyway, yes, I wiped those two hard drives, but I'm not sure whether or not I want to try to scrape any money out of this because it's got 2.8 Pentium 4. I could put like a gig or two of DDR memory in it, probably 333 or 400 megahertz max. This video card was in that computer. It's a 64 meg AGP. I'm probably going to keep in that if I do go to sell this thing, but I don't know. I might. It's an HP, it's an HP, doesn't say. Well, model number is right there. Okay, D530C, so there you go. Yeah, so I am again contemplating selling this, or I may or may not. And yes, I mentioned this 4600 in my last video. I was just cleaning it up, but I revisited it because once I learned that he wanted all the data deleted off all the computers, not necessarily in a secure fashion, just, you know, the data wasn't important, so I went ahead and deleted all the data off this. But I had it set aside from last week, and I went to revisit to delete the data off of it, and the power supply was dead. I plugged it in and it would shut off. You know, it would be going, I'd start up and have it logged in, and then it would restart randomly. It wouldn't even blue screen or anything, just restart. So I replaced the power supply. It's working fine now. Just deleted all the excess user accounts. There were 3 of them I had to delete, and defrag the hard drive again and all of that. So this thing's going to be all set. But it always tries to download, it always tries to install updates. It's always the same 3 and they always fail. I'm going to try to fix that in a little bit. But yeah, that's what's going on with that. But I have an interesting little server over here. It's a custom built server. This is one of the computers he dropped off. I didn't really care about it, so he let me have it. Case is manufactured by Tab. It's got Intel Xeon in it. And when I first saw this thing, I looked at it, and I saw, damn it, there's no light. Anyway, I saw that it has DDR2 memory. And it said AMD, not AMD, Intel Xeon on the front. It's like, whew, that was a really bad whistle. But anyway, I was surprised because this thing must be really good if it's got DDR2 memory. This server is going to be worth something really good. So I assumed it had like 533 or 667, maybe even 800 or 1066 megahertz DDR2 memory in it. And I wrote him an email saying, hey, I'd be willing to accept this thing as payment for cleaning up all the other PCs. But, however, I took a closer look because I looked at the specifications and everything, and the only type of DDR2 memory it supports is DDR2 400. It had 3 gigs in it, which is 6 512 meg chips. It's got 8 slots total. It had one AMD, why do I keep saying AMD? It only had one CPU in it. This one's a 3 gigahertz. Where's the 3.2? Yeah, it's a 3 gigahertz Xeon single core, 64-bit, which is nice. So it's not 32-bit like my other server. But I decided nonetheless I'd take this thing and begin to upgrade it. So I bought a bunch of memory for it. I bought 8 gigs, which is 4 2-gig chips of DDR2 400 memory, ECC of course, for it, but it doesn't work. It's the right type of memory, right number of pins, or all that, but I've heard that this motherboard does have, well, motherboard in this computer is a bit finicky with different memory types. You can't just put any type of DDR2 400 in and have it work, so I figured out the hard way that stuff isn't compatible. So I looked in the documentation. This stuff cost me like 20 bucks, by the way. I looked in the documentation and looked up a model number of Hynix memory that, or I'm not sure if it was Hynix or not, but I looked up documentation and found some memory that they had tested and they approved would actually work with this motherboard, since Intel actually tested it with the motherboard. So I did that, looked it up. I bought 8 more gigs, which should work this time, though it might not. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be really pissed off. Which is going to be another 4 2-gig chips. And I'll put 4 2-gig chips and 4 512 chips in it for a total of 10 gigs of memory. Let's get things off here. This one's a pain to get out. My thumb hurts. It really hurts. Okay. I know you can't see anything, I'm sorry, but it's got one heatsink on it. As you can see, the slot is empty. And some servers actually want you to put blank CPUs in there, where it's not actually a CPU as much as like a placeholder. But this one doesn't have that, I guess. When I bought 2 CPUs online I bought 2 3.6 Xeons. This thing supports up to 3.8s, but I found 2 3.6s for dirt cheap, like half the price of all the other ones. They were like $5.50 a piece, whereas all the other ones I could find online were like 10 or 15 bucks a piece. I don't really need 2 3.8s, so I bought 2 3.6s. But I only have one heatsink so far, and I bought another heatsink online for about 20 bucks. It's just a hunk of metal for 20 bucks. It's kind of a rip-off, but it's the cheapest one I could find. So as soon as that second heatsink arrives, I'm going to go ahead and toss a second Xeon 3.6 in it. And have to do with 3.6s. As far as hard drives go, it has 6 slots. 4 of them were occupied with 36 gigabyte drives right over here, which I'm going to go ahead and wipe because they were in a couple different RAID arrays. And I took 4 73 gigs I had lying around. The only 4 73 gigs I had lying around. Besides one, I think. I have one extra, but popped them in here, and I have a RAID 0 array going, and I got Windows Server 2008 on this thing, but I'm not going to start it up because I loaded Server 08 on it, 64-bit, and I realized that there's such a thing as Server 2008 R2. I thought I had R2, and I seemed it to be R2, but it's not. So I'm actually downloading 2008 R2 right now. I'm hopefully going to get loaded on this thing tonight. I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite the current operating system I got on this thing. And this is going to replace my Dell Poweredge. I'm probably going to sell my Dell Poweredge on eBay or something. I'm not going to be able to ship it, but I am going to go ahead and probably just list it on eBay as local pickup only. Or try to sell it on Craigslist, but I probably want 300 bucks for it, 300 or 400 bucks, because it's got a RAID 0 array, 4 different hard drives for a total of 293 gigs. 8 gigs of DDR, 266 MHz memory, 2 3.2 GHz Xeon, so it's a pretty decent server, and it also has a Server 08 on it, 32-bit. And I might go ahead and get it. I might get a legal activation key for someone who has a spare, So if I activate server await and that thing and everything, I can sell it for a good hunk of money and just use this to replace that other server. So I'm going to make money off this, hopefully, by replacing my Poweredge with this thing and then selling the Poweredge, but I don't know. These two fans are in it. I had two of these big fans and two of these small fans. I took each of the big and small out because it just simply didn't eat them. And this thing chugs air, does not run hot at all, so that's not an issue. It makes a bit less noise. So yeah, that's that. I probably am going to go ahead and ask for a bit of monetary payment for cleaning probably their PCs and stuff, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. On top of this, I'm going to have to write the guy that email and say, hey, this server sounds good as I thought it was. I retract my statement that I'd be willing to take this as a sole form of payment. But yeah, I'll make more updates on this when I replace a Poweredge with it, and when I got more hardware in it. But I also have some other things to mention. Selling's been kind of slow lately. I've actually got 3 desktops listed. I listed about 5 or 6 a couple weeks ago, or like last week, I mean. 2 of them sold, the GX7022E, which was a gateway with a dual core in it. I sold that for like, I don't know, 60 bucks profit or something. I sold a Dell Dimension 8200, someone who bought an 8200 from me like last year and liked it. Surprisingly, I got 3 more under there. 4600, an old gateway with a Pentium 4, and what else? I can't remember. Oh, custom built with a Pentium D. Not a Pentium dual core, but a Pentium D hyper-threading or something, I don't know. But selling is kind of slow. It took me a while to sell those things. I also sold some memory and stuff I had lying around, but anyway, back over here. This is an HP Pavilion A1700N. I did not get this from the recycling center. I was not given this. I actually bought this because I've mentioned in my other videos I'm going to Champlain College up in Burlington, Vermont starting this August. And I'm part of the Bring Your Own Business Scholarship. And what they did was they went ahead and, well, they're giving me a space to run my business out of. And yes, I've already mentioned all this. But the guy who runs the business, runs the scholarship program. He told me about a company that's in Burlington called Recycle. Now, it's not a very creative name for a computer company, but yes, the company's name is Recycle, and they basically just take technology for the most part. They also take furniture and everything, and they recycle it, refurbish it, and they sell it for decent prices. And they're a non-profit, so they're not out to make money. I think the people who work for them, some of them get paid, but the business as a whole is a non-profit. So they actually had one of their locations about half a mile away from my college. So actually I was up in Burlington because my brother was touring a college right nearby, UVM, he was touring, and I came along with them because I had to, because it was a family trip sort of thing. So while I was there, I went ahead and toured the Recycle area, and they had pallets of computers, and this was one of them. And I explained to him, hey, I'm going to college in this town, beginning this August. I'm running a computer business. I'd like to buy some, plan to buy some PCs from you guys to refurbish myself, sorry. And they explained to me that they have a surplus, certainly, but they'd be willing to sell me the odd models, because they had a huge pallet, pallet would be pretty big, it sat right in the floor. They had like 20 or so Dell Optiplex 755s or something. They're all the same model. And explained that it's really easy for them, because they're a pretty big operation. It's easy for them to take one hard drive, load all the stuff onto like the operating system, the drivers, all that, and then go ahead and ghost that hard drive to the other 15 or 20 computers of the exact same model. And have those be all set and ready to sell, besides having to change the product keys. But they said they had a few spare models lying around that they could sell to me. And I said, hey, why not do a test case? I'll buy this thing from you, see how it goes, and I might email you guys over the summer or something and say, yeah, I'd like to buy computers from you, which looks like it's going to be the case. So they said that they'd go ahead and they'd start, shortly before August, they'd start building a pallet of odd model computers. When they only have like 1 or 2 computers of the same model, or they'll all be mixed models really, which takes too much time for them. And I'd go down there and buy like pallets of them from them when I'm going to college and refurbish them as my business. So they sold me this for $30. It had a 2 gigahertz AMD Athlon 64X2, a gigabyte of DDR2 memory. They gave me an 80 gig hard drive with it. Originally I had 250, but for data security, they pulled the hard drive out and gave me an 80 that had been wiped. It's got a Vista Home Premium code and all that. And they said they'd sell me dual core computers for $30, and they'd sell me computers with like Pentium 4 hyper-threading, like socket T Pentium 4s for $20, which isn't as worth it. But this thing's worth it. I think I could probably sell this on eBay for $80. Profit might be around 60 or 65. Minus $30 would be like 30 or 35 bucks of profit off this thing, which, you know, ain't too bad. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So when I'm going to college, I'm going to go ahead and probably buy pallets of computers from those guys and refurbish and sell them myself. However, it doesn't save them a whole lot to be able to get money out of selling these things unrefurbished, because the people who work there are volunteers and they're not paid. So it doesn't save them any money since they're not paying the people to refurbish these computers anyway that they sell. And they had pretty good prices, by the way. They had computers with Core 2 Duos and 3 or 4 gigs of memory, pretty big hard drives for about $100, which is decent. But yeah, as I was saying, they're not paying the people who are working for them to refurbish their computers for them. So the only thing me buying these unrefurbished computers without operating systems from them, the only thing it saves them is time. It doesn't save them any money, it just saves them time. They earn a little bit less money, but they don't have a surplus lying over. So we'll see how that goes. In August, I'll probably make some videos updating all that, and it'll be some pretty good news. But yes, I loaded Vista 32-bit Home Premium on this thing with my Universal Installer disk. It's running well. I'm just defragging the disk. Ooh, it finished. Cool. This thing's pretty much all set. I'll set to sell. I think I have a couple more updates. Yeah, a couple more updates to install it, and I'll go ahead and probably list this online and sell it. So yeah, I think that's going to be pretty much it. I'm just going to go inside and mention the 3100 I got from the person I am cleaning the computers off for. But one more thing first. This is a Dell Dimension E520 I mentioned in my last video that I was going to sell to a friend. But he said that his mom at the last moment bought a computer on eBay for $100. It had like a Pentium in it. He doesn't know a lot about computers, but he said it had like a Pentium or something. And I assumed it to be a Pentium 4. This thing's got a Core 2 Duo. And I asked him, why'd she do that? He said, because she wanted it really quick or something, and she didn't have the patience to to set up a sale from you and all that. So I told him I could have got her a lot better of a deal by selling her this, and it's kind of annoying that the sale didn't go through, but it didn't. So I'm just gonna sell this thing online or something, because I was planning on selling it to them for about $80. But I don't know, people do impulsive things sometimes, and I guess she wants me right away, and she didn't really know me or anything, so she bought one off eBay instead. So yeah, I think it's just gonna get sold on eBay. It's got a 1.8 gigahertz Pentium Core 2 Duo. I put 3 gigs of memory, and I'm probably gonna downgrade that to the 160 gig SATA hard drive. But that's it for out here. I'm gonna go ahead and go inside now and mention my other computer. So this is the Dell Dimension 3100, or E310 I was talking about. This is the one I decided to upgrade to Windows 7. It originally had this 40 gig SATA hard drive in it, with XP on it. But however, this hard drive is clearly going bad. It's not quite broken yet, but it's making a lot of really bad noises. That's a telltale sign that's gonna fail, so... yeah, that's not good. So I replaced it with an 80 gig I had lying around. Wait, no, that's not what I did. This is a 250 gig, or rather a 320. I was working on a computer for my dad's office right here. I don't think I mentioned it, but I was working on it here. I was upgrading it from XP to 7. And, yeah, I put a 320 gig in it because I was going to try to upgrade the hard drive, but this makes tons of noise. It's actually slower than 250 gig I had originally, so I went ahead and just reused the old 250 gig. But the 40 gig I mentioned is the bottom one in here. You can't really see it, I know, but I replaced it with an 80 gig, and the 40 gig is still running because I thought I had to pull files off of it. But once I learned that he wanted to get rid of all of the data off the hard drives and everything. I said, you know, no point pulling anything off of it. So this computer was actually purchased, or at least it appears to have been purchased, from a local computer store called Computer Salvage, and they're a place that I've been kind of rivaling. I don't really like them so much. I don't hate them or anything, but it's just, you know, they're not the greatest. This is a sticker that was on it. As you can see, it clearly has a 2.8 megahertz CPU, which makes absolutely no sense. That's one of the most rookie mistakes you see, writing megahertz instead of gigahertz. So apparently this thing is like 1,000th as fast as it's supposed to be. They didn't write down the speed of the memory, how much memory, well, what the memory config was, if it was 4, 5, 12 chips or 2, 1 gigs. Didn't say if the hard drive was IDE or SATA, what RPM it was. It didn't say if it had Service Pack 3 on it. Didn't say what kind of drive specifically it had in it, so we're missing a bunch of information on that, which is something you usually write down when you're selling a computer. You know, you want to write down all the specifics. And the DVD drive was jammed. It only had half the memory was supposed to have in it. It says it has 2 gigs, but only had 1 gig in it. Not sure if that's because someone who bought it from them took that gig out, or if they messed up themselves. I don't know. But I went ahead and upgraded it to 7. But the Dell Dimension 3100 doesn't have a complete set of driver support for Windows 7, so I found some generic drivers that do the trick for everything other than the integrated video. So I went ahead and I put, since it doesn't have a PCI Express or AGP slot, I put a NVIDIA GeForce 6200 256 meg PCI video card with a little fan on it. And that has Windows 7 drivers that work pretty well. What makes a little bit of noise from the fan, but you know, it does the trick. I put the 2nd gig of memory in it, so now it's got 2 gigs. Replaced the hard drive, as I said, and it runs pretty smoothly. It's taking forever to separate now because I just installed tons of updates on it. Just restarted. You can see, yeah, it's the video card thing. But yeah, I'm just in the middle of updating this thing. Once it's all finished updating, and once I've got everything installed, I'm going to go ahead and just put it aside and have it ready for him to give back to him. So I'm going to give him this thing. I'm going to give him a laptop he gave me. I don't think I mentioned. It's nothing special though. That I'm cleaning off. And I'm going to give him that Dell Dimension 4600 I mentioned with the web, well, just for web browsing really. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I think I will actually go ahead and make a quick mention towards that laptop though. I forgot to mention, however, that what I was doing for this thing to get internet, because there's no Ethernet that runs up here, it doesn't have a wireless card. I was using my Lenovo laptop, and my friend actually showed me this when I was setting another computer in here from my dad's office, as I previously mentioned. He set it so that the Wi-Fi will actually output connectivity through the Ethernet. So I had my Lenovo running and sitting right up there on my little towel rack, and plugged in an Ethernet cable. It's not even a crossover cable, it's just a standard Ethernet cable that runs between the laptop and the desktop. So the desktop would be able to get an internet connection. So my laptop just sat there for a while I downloaded all the updates and everything. So yeah, that's that. That's what some of you might be wondering. So this is the laptop I was talking about. It's a Lenovo T60 with a Centrino Duo, which I think is the same thing as a Core 2 Duo. I think it's about 2.1 gigahertz, might be like 1.8 or something. It's got a couple gigs of DDR2 memory. I think it's 533 or something. I didn't really check out the specs all that closely. Got like an 80 gig SATA hard drive or something. It has Windows XP on it. But yeah, he told me he just wanted me to clean it off. Didn't want Windows 7 on it or anything, so that's what I'm doing. I did this a while ago, though I haven't revisited it since he told me he wanted all the files off it, because I cleaned it off and I assumed that he wanted all the gunk to be taken off of it, but I didn't know that he wanted all the files off of it as well, so I'm going to do that. Though I noticed something very weird with it. This battery's kind of funky looking and doesn't seem to hold much, if any, charge. But I noticed that whenever this battery is plugged in, the computer will randomly lock up. I don't know why, but I take the battery out, it works fine. So it might just be a problem with the battery, might be a problem with the wiring inside the computer, but I'll let him know. And I'm going to go ahead and just use this computer when the power supply is plugged in with no battery. So, yep, that's that. That actually concludes this video. I don't think I've got anything else to mention, but yes, as always, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.